In the late 19th century, Boston's population began rapidly growing with the arrival of poor, uneducated immigrants, many of whom had children. As more children came to Boston, people began to notice many of them were becoming very ill, and some were even dying. And by the 1880s, 1 in 10 children under the age of 5 would die before they turned 5. Unfortunately, at the time, the practice of pediatrics did not exist as we know it today. In fact, if a child was sick, doctors would try to treat them as small versions of adults. This can be dangerous because children's bodies are still developing and require specialized medical attention, and the dosage or type of medication they could be given can severely affect the child's health. With the development of urbanization in Boston, the claustrophobic and unsanitary living conditions of the city had an impact on the overall well-being of children. Immigrant parents thought a holistic approach to curing these illnesses could be a solution, so they brought their children along the ocean to breathe in the fresh air. As Reverend Rufus B. Tobey, a congregational minister, and his assistant Louis Freeman were walking home from work one night, they noticed the parents strolling their children along the Dover Street Bridge. This touched Reverend Tobey, and he wanted to figure out a way to assist these helpless children and parents. In 1883, Tobey had the idea of bringing a floating hospital to the Boston harbor. This ship, similar to the one he heard of in New York, would give children the opportunity to enjoy the fresh sea breeze and also the opportunity to be seen by doctors and nurses free of charge. On July 25, 1894, the Boston Floating Hospital launched and began its revolutionary journey to creating the world of pediatric we know so well today. The once relatively simple floating hospital soon evolved into a multiple-department medical facility for research in pediatric care that created a mark on medical history. What made this hospital unique is not only that they purely focused on childhood illnesses, but that they addressed their patients as whole people and not as burdensome problems that needed to be fixed. Multiple programs that are standard in hospitals today originated at the floating hospital, such as Child Life Services and the Family Participation Unit. For the first time in national healthcare, the emotional well-being of children and their families were finally prioritized through the introduction of these support services created by nurses at the floating hospital. Most importantly, each child was taken care of and provided with medical attention specific to them, and were not treated any differently according to their race or social status. In 1914, the hospital asked Albert Bosworth, a milk chemist, to develop a formula that could be used as a supplement for mother's milk, as doctors found that the leading causes of some child illnesses were due to spoiled breast milk. Bosworth was able to create a powdered milk product that reorganized the elements of cow's milk in proportions nearly identical to breast milk. This product, which is still used by babies and families decades later, is known as Similac. Modern-day medical practices are often perceived as a given, and Americans take for granted these historical innovations and resources. This entitlement neglects the labor of those who worked to save the lives of poor immigrants in the 19th century in Boston. With such an important history, you would think the story would be well known. Unfortunately, this is not the case.